All right. So here I am in Bialik High School in the science office, and I'm going to show you how to download a model from Sketchfab that has texture maps and import into Blender and load in all the maps so you can see it in its full glory. I did a video where you import a model which only has one simple vertex color, and it wasn't too complicated. But this is going to be more of a normal case. So I'm looking at now this kind of bracelet thing that I made for some other Egyptian character. And the reason I chose this is because it's really, really simple, but there's a bunch of maps on it. You have to know how to load properly. So it's like this kind of cuff bracelet with all these jewels and stuff. And first thing is that, remember we talked about that you should check if the model is low poly or high poly, because if you want to print it in 3D, you want to have a model that has all the detail. This is all fake detail. So it will not look very good in 3D. So look, you only have 1.7 thousand vertices, which generally means it's what we call low poly. And I said the trick is you click this little model inspector thing and you go to matcap. And this is showing you what it actually looks like, which just looks like some kind of styrofoam cup you drink coffee out of. It's not very impressive. With the detail, though, it looks like this, which is a lot more intricate. But this detail is fake. It's detail that's created by a normal map, which we're going to look at in a second. None of that will print in a printer. It'll just look like this. So this would not be something you would want to print in a printer if you wanted all this fancy jewels and stuff. The final thing looks like this, which has a lot of detail, but again, it's all fake. So let's look at the maps that it has so we know what we're going to load. So this is the mesh. The wireframe of the mesh really is simple. Like it's not very many polygons. It's kind of a low poly thing. Um, the first map that we're going to see is just the color, which if I click here, it says base color. And that's just the color. It looks like a drawing or something. It's literally just the color information of the model. And it's called an albedo map, as we're going to see. Base color is the same thing as albedo. The next map we're going to see is a map which is called metalness. And the areas that are white will be rendered as metal, and the areas that are black will be measured as non-metal, and these gray ones will be somewhere in between. So you see that the jewels are kind of, they're not really metal, but they're kind of halfway. And all the rest of the stuff is metal. This map, which is a black and white map, is called roughness. Roughness really means is it glossy or not? Is it shiny? If it's white, it will be rough, which means it'll be matte. The areas that are pale will not be shiny. The areas that are dark will be shiny. So we see here the jewels are almost black because they're super shiny. That's called the roughness map. It's a really important map because it determines what is shiny and what is not. Next one is called the normal map, which is the thing that gives all the fake detail. And the normal map has this weird blue color, and that's very easy to identify. It basically gives all the information about the surface detail. So it reacts to light. So for example, if I do this, and hold on, move around the light, how do I do that? Alt, yeah. If I move around the light, you'll see it more in Blender, it will react as if it's really three-dimensional, but it's all fake. This we're not going to use, this we're not going to use, this we're not going to use. Oh, emission we'll use a little bit, but emission just means how much light is coming out of it. I probably won't hook this up, but in this case, because there's jewels, it's like they're emitting light. It's like a magical bracelet. Okay, so I'm going to download it. Download the model. I'm going to download it as an OBJ, which is like a standard format. Go up there. It'll do something. All right, now I'm going to open up the actual thing, make sure that I'm seeing this. Yep. I have to unzip all of this. The files for 3D models are pretty big, so they've been zipped. So I'm going to extract everything. I'm going to be kind of really sure that I've extracted everything by, I'm going to click on that folder. Good. If I see a picture of the model like this, then it means it's been unzipped and we're all cool. If I see these pictures, cool. Everything's been unzipped. Super easy. Great. All right. I'm going to go to Blender. Let's go to Blender, and I already had started this, but I'm going to get rid of it. Go away, Crown. Perfect. Let's make sure I'm broadcasting this. Yes. All right. So I'm in Blender right now. I'm going to go and import this model. I found out where I put it. Desktop. downloads. And it's here. No, sorry, wrong one. Egyptian cuff. All right, so first, the source. The source means the model. So if I click there, this is actually the model that I downloaded. So I press that. Now I have my coffee cup. First thing is we realize there's no color. I have to show you something. These three options, or these four options, are different ways to look at the model. If I go here, I just see the wireframe. I just see exactly the edges of the model. If I go here, I see like an uncolored white version of the model, like it's made out of plastic or something. If I go here, I see the model with color, if I had color. And if I go here, I see the actual rendered version with the lighting. Now there's no lighting here, that's why it looks dark. We're going to stick with this middle one. You can see all the color in this one over here, which is called Look Dev, or Material Preview. But there's no color, so that's why it just looks white. All right, we're going to bring in all the maps here. So if I go over here, I'm going to just get rid of this actually and delete all of this. So imagine it comes in and it doesn't have any material at all. It will look white. I click this new and it assigns a new material. So in Blender, the first thing that happens when you assign a new material is you get this mega node, which is all the inputs to plug in your maps. Right now, since it's on the proper mode, if I go to base color, it changes color. Cool. So I can just literally just make a color if I want to just color it like that. But of course, I want to make something that's a lot more detailed, so I have to plug in a map. So I have inputs here, but where am I going to put the maps? I have to make new nodes, which are going to hold the images, and that is called image texture. So I click add, and I'm just going to start typing, right away, image. And that comes up. This is the box where you plug the map into, the pictures. I need 3 of them. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 4 of them actually. I need metallic as well. And another one. So now I'm going to go open this and open up all the maps that I downloaded. All right. So we have Egyptian cuff and textures, and I'm just going to take everything. All right. So first I'm going to choose plug in the color map. The color map is always called albedo, or usually called albedo. In this case, we can see a little, I'll just zoom in a bit more. We can see like a little, that's the color. So I'm going to choose this one. Bracelet albedo. I'm going to take the color output and plug it into the color input. And there we go. We have the color. Now, I'm going to move this up a little bit. I'll show you what the map actually looks like. The map, if I go to texture paint, I see the actual map. It just looks like a sticker or something like that. Go back to the shading. Now I'm going to bring in the roughness map. So I'm going to go on to roughness. Let's see if this works. The roughness map is a black and white map. So what I should see is a black and white map. Good. And because it's black and white, instead of where it says color space, it says RGB. That means it's using a color output. I want to put it on non-color because this isn't painting it. It's using it for other information. So the roughness map, non-color, and I'll plug it right into the roughness over here. And now you'll get some areas which are shiny and some areas which aren't. It's hard to see now without the normal map, but you see that right there. If I move it around, the gems are much more glossy than the rest of it. Okay. All right. Now the metallic map. I'll put that over there. That's going to determine what is made out of metal and what isn't. Well, the whole thing mostly is made out of metal, but the gems aren't. So metal, bracelet metal. I've named these things so you can understand what they are. The metal map is also black and white. So instead of RGB, non-color. Plug it in there. Whoop. Now, oh, it's starting to get better because now it's starting to look like metal. And the really important one is the normal map. So the normal map, I have to do a little bit of a shtick here. I'm going to open it up, and it's the weird looking blue thing, always bluish purple. Now, even though it's purple, for example, I'll show you what it looks like. Even though the normal map looks blue, the computer doesn't want to paint it blue. It wants to use these colors to understand the depth. So we do not want it to be a color space of RGB. Again, non-color. Basically, you see that everything except for the albedo map should be put out as a non-color. So if I plug this directly in, you're going to see it doesn't really work. Kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. It's sort of not really doing what it's supposed to do. What we need is in between, only for the normal map. In between the normal map and the mega node, we need a normal map node. So if I go to add and I start typing in the word normal, I get this normal map node. And I'm going to stick this right in there. Now we have a sense of fake depth. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to move the lighting around and you'll see what I mean. If I move the position of the lighting, you see you get a little highlight on the edge of it, you get shadows on the bottom of it, and it looks like it's three-dimensional, even though it's not. Now I could actually exaggerate how three-dimensional it is. If I take the strength of here and crank it up, it's going to pop out more. If I turn it on to 0, it's going to not be there at all. It's like I'm pushing out these little parts as I push it more. You can't go too crazy because sometimes it just looks weird. But if I rotate it now, hold on, it kind of, oh, I'll do that again. They're popping out a little bit more. The illusion of popping out is a bit higher. All right. And so now I have all my maps in. I go to my layout. You see, on this thing, you can't see anything, but on this, you see all the color. So now I have my object. Yay, object. One thing you want to be sure about is that the object itself is set to shade smooth. Okay, before, let me just remind you of this. Shade flat, you see the polygons. Shade smooth or auto smooth, even better, you don't. So you want to have it on shade smooth. And then you have your nice little bracelet.